Oh my goodness, guys. I am mind blown. I am very emotional right now because I just watched the movie Rascal Does Not Dream of Dreaming Girl. Not Bunny Girl, but My Soul's the Best Waifu, so I'm sorry, I'll put you down for a sec. But we watched the Seishin Butayaro movie, the Rascal Does Not Dream of Dreaming Girl movie, and I am filled with so much excitement and emotion right now that like I can't process everything that I just watched this movie still. Oh my goodness. So I can't talk anything spoilers about this movie. I just can't, okay? I can't talk about anything. I just talk in a general sense. And if you want to do spoilers, if you guys seen the movie, you can stay tuned for the spoiler section, which I'll put in the timeline somewhere in this thing. I don't know. But yeah, stay tuned for spoilers. I will give you my thoughts on this movie in a general sense for those of you guys who unfortunately couldn't see this movie. But it's freaking great. If you are a fan of the Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl anime, then this is all sort of the same thing, but continuing on. And with, of course, you guys saw the trailers, it deals with Shoko and, well, mostly just Shoko and Sakuta, to be honest. And oh my goodness, oh, it's so emotional right now. So like, I'm speechless to an extent, because like, I had to write every single thing down on my notes, right? I was writing everything on the bus ride back home, my everything, and I have all the notes right here in my hands, my iPad, that we'll talk about eventually. But in terms of a general sense of the movie, I can't talk about anything without talking spoilers, can I? Well, of course, the title is not about, you know, Mai, the bunny girl senpai. It's about Shoko, the dreaming girl. And of course, we didn't really dive into her whole background and her story in the anime. I think I might have made a video on episode 12. And that was one of my little tidbits about the anime. But this entire movie, this 1 hour, 30 minute, I think it was like an hour 30-minute movie, deals with Shoko. Shoko, I forget her whole name, but I'll just call her Shoko. Oh, Makino Hara Shoko, yes. And her whole like thing of how she's like older and how she's younger and like what's the deal with her and whatnot. So she's an important character in, you know, the whole universe in the anime with Sakuta and how, you know, how she helped Sakuta a lot. And we see so much of that in this movie, and we get so much of her character in here. We get a lot of Mai in here. We get the whole cast in this movie, and it's freaking amazing. The whole movie feels like the anime, except with a movie production and quality time. I wouldn't say like the animation was super more impressed than the anime was. It kind of felt similar and stuff for some reason. It's not a spoiler, but they still use like the CGI characters and stuff in the background. I'm just like, when I saw that, I'm just like, is this really a movie? This kind of feels off, but I don't really care about the animation. The animation still, it's not like super high great, and like it's still like as good as the anime was, maybe just a little bit better to an extent. But yeah, like the whole, I really love the plot in this movie. It's just really great, except I can't talk about this until spoilers, but they introduced some kind of element to Shoko's puberty syndrome that like kind of irks me. It doesn't irk me too much, but just like a concept that like gets really complicated and stuff, and I won't say exactly what happens to that in here, but there's just this little aspect of her whole puberty syndrome that, you know, makes things complicated, but it still works. I don't give a crap about that stuff. I'm used to it, okay? I'll talk about it in spoilers. Yeah, it just feels like anime. So at first in the movie, it starts like really like, you know, like you just left off from the season 1 of the anime, like, you know, Mai and Sakuta having their relationship and stuff like that. And, you know, it's all going great, all the jokes are the same, and all their, like, personality and character. And then Shoko comes in, and then freaking movie goes in 180, and then it's just like, oh, well, you gotta deal with Shoko now, and we're learning so much about her, and I'm just like, oh, shit. This causes so many complications, and all this stuff happening with, like, Sakuta's, like, scar, and his puberty syndrome coming back, and stuff like that. I'm just like, what the hell's going on? And like, you know, the whole younger version of Shoko and the older versions, like, let's deal with them. It's super great. Honestly, learning about her character finally. She got a whole movie dedicated to her, whereas everyone else in the show got like 3 to 4 episodes to an extent. She got a whole movie dedicated to her, and that was freaking awesome. What about music? I don't know too much about the music. All I know is that they play, it's not a spoiler, but I mean, They play some of the songs from the anime, mostly the credit scene, the ending. That's not a spoiler. It's okay, guys. You all heard it already before. Movie, I don't think there's any too much soundtrack that stood out to me. It was still overall pretty great because it just, all the emotion and stuff that I was watching on screen was so much to process that I couldn't fathom like listening to the sound and stuff, but it was just emphasizing everything that was great. Animation, I talked about the characters. The characters all great, of course. It's all just great. Let me see my notes real quick. Let me pull my notes. Yeah, like I said, jokes are on point. All the comedy that they have from the anime all comes through back here and stuff. All the great personality of Sakata and his witticisms and whatnot. Oh yeah, I also felt this was a very heartwarming movie to an extent. Because if you like all the characters and just going like through their daily lives and whatnot, it's very heartwarming and very emotional. That's probably what I'm acting like now. Let me see. A lot of focus on Mai, Sakata, and Shoko, although all the other characters from the anime do come back in and then get some development. With the exception of Kaede. Kaede kind of gets, you know, off to the sidelines to an extent because of what happened to her in the end of the anime, if you haven't seen that for some reason. Let me see what else I got here. I don't know if I could talk about all the other characters particularly. I'll just say that Sakata and Mai, their relationship in here freaking was so good. Mai is the best girl in the series. I can't deny that anymore after this movie. It was just freaking great. Her and Sakata are just great. And everything that they went through in this movie was just raised the roof for their pair. And I'm just like, gosh, guys, these are just the true couples. They're great. And who else here? Got Futaba's the same as usual. She still helps out Sakata, but I see a lot more emotion in her character in this movie, which is super surprising considering how she got development in the anime. But yeah, I felt like Futaba was just really great, and like she sort of showed a lot more in here than the anime. We finally get to see Kaede after her whole dilemma in the anime, and so far her personality seems pretty. I don't know if I can say I'm used to it, but I'm just like, it's whatever. I mean, I still like how the old Kaede and stuff, but like seeing her in this movie, and you know, it's just like, oh, she's grown, guys. It's all good. Let me see. We got a lot of my sister Nodaka's in here. Also, she's, you know, she's mostly here when they're talking about Mai. So. Although she really like, you know, trying to develop a relationship with, you know, Mai's boyfriend and stuff, how they're trying to get used to each other and whatnot, and just like, you know, getting to know each other. Let's see, what else here do I have for my notes that I cannot spoil anything? Oh, okay, no spoiler, but there is no after credit scene. I don't know why the hell they did that in the theater, but when the credits started rolling and the whole theater was still dark, I'm just like, oh, is there like an after credit scene? Because usually they don't turn on the lights till like the thing's actually over. But no, they freaking debated us, and there's no after credit scene. There's no, what do you call it? No teaser for a second season or anything like that. There's nothing. So you just leave after the movie's over. Oh, actually, you know what? They're showing this another day. There's 2-day showings in this movie. So if you missed out October 2nd, which is today, you can watch it tomorrow. Go watch the movie, guys. I'm serious. It's so freaking great. I already mentioned the CGI thing, which was an animation. There's some callbacks to the anime, so that's great if you're watching this after the anime. But I mean, I'm expecting you guys to have been watching the anime after this. I don't know if you're watching this video and you haven't seen the anime or the movie, but hi. That's about it. Overall, the whole movie was super great and very conclusive, to be honest. After the ending, I was thinking to myself, how would they do a second season of this anime with all the characters? But the thing resolves super well in the end, and I'm just like, I can dig this. I can not dig a second season. I know, of course I want a second season to see more of Mai, more of Sakata, more of everyone. But like, in terms of like everyone in the anime that's been shown so far, it's been settled pretty well, to be honest. Like everyone who in anime had, you know, their arcs, but then except Shoko's arc is finally concluded in this movie, and it felt like, wow, everyone here is like, you know, they're all done. It's like, what else is there to do now? It's freaking great. So yeah, it's a very conclusive movie for everyone in the series, and I don't know if they could, or I don't know in the light novel if there is a continuation of this after this arc, but like, my goodness, was I super satisfied with the ending, and just satisfied with like how it resolved everyone in the anime, and even Shoko and stuff. And I can't talk about her ending per se until spoilers, which is coming up soon. So yeah, I highly recommend you guys watch the movie if you guys like the series. It's so freaking great, and like, oh my god, it was such an emotional wreck. It was, I'm gonna tell you this, guys, like, you know, there were sad parts of this movie, and I hear people cry in the theater. I didn't cry, unfortunately. I wanted to, but I was super sad, and I heard people cry in the movie theater, and it was just really great. It was a great experience to see so many fans feel emotional in this movie. Just like feeling the same thing I was like when things happened, and I would jump up in my seat, I would stand up in my seat, I'm just like, wait, what just happened? And just like, there's just so many great moments in this movie. It's so awesome. I would go a second time tomorrow to go watch this movie again. It's that great, guys. It's an hour 30 minutes. It's super great. If you like, oh man, Rascal Does, the movie, the anime and the movie are just so great. And that concludes the non-spoilery talk. So if you guys just stay tuned for the spoiler talk, then, you know, proceed with caution and proceed on your own warning, or whatever the saying is. I can't think right now because I'm still feeling the rush from the movie, guys. It's so great. So that's it for the, the non-spoiler review of Bunny Girl. Well, Senpai Doesn't Dream of Dreaming Girl, and it's just honestly great. I would buy this on Blu-ray and DVD. It's freaking great. I want to buy the regular anime on Blu-ray DVD. I don't have that, but I would. It's that great, and hopefully we'll get a second season announced or something like that. Who knows? So leave a like if you enjoyed, and comment what you guys thought about the anime or the movie. If you guys, well, don't comment spoilers in the comments, okay? Just leave your thoughts of the movie without spoiling anything in the comments, or, you know, what you guys thought about the anime. If you guys are, you know, looking at the anime and you're just coming here to see if it's worth it to watch the movie. It's very worth to watch this movie, guys. So that's it. I will see you guys in the spoiler section. So I think that's about it. Okay, welcome guys to the spoiler section for Rascal Does Not Dream of Dreaming Girl. Oh my gosh, guys. How could they do that shit? I swear, dude, like, every single anime cliche is like freaking our main character, our characters getting ran over by trucks and shit, and honestly, when that shit happened, the whole freaking theater shook and jumped up on their seats. It was like, what? And even I did too. I freaking stood up. I was super wide awake, and I'm just like, no, that can't be. And freaking the most darkest shit happened in this movie, and I can't believe they would freaking kill MAI, man. They would kill the best girl in this show. That was freaking heartbreaking and shit, and everyone in the theater was just shocked and gasped. Even me included. I was like, I'm not touching my drink, I'm not touching my food. I just want to see what the frick happens next, because how could they do that to her? Although she did that in order to save Sakata, so oh my goodness. Oh, okay, that was like the most freaking, the most like shocking part of the movie. That for me personally, because like, oh my goodness. So, start off in the beginning. It all is really great and stuff with, like, you know, the daily lives of MAI and Sakata until Shoko comes in. And when Shoko comes in, we start learning about her and everything, and start, you know. So Shoko, the future Shoko, of course, Shoko and the older Shoko and the younger Shoko are the same, clearly. And from the looks of it, Shoko, as a younger version, is in the hospital, and of course, you've probably seen this in the trailers. She's being hospitalized because she has a heart disease. Why after pancreas? Why? Well, that's pancreas, not heart, but you know what I mean. Diseases, you know. So, yeah, we finally have Sakata meet with the younger Shoko, who finally learns about her heart disease, and just sort of start to visit her every single day afterwards. And of course, we have the older version of Shoko, which is to be explained of how, you know, the younger Shoko may not live long because of her heart disease, so then she sort of worries about her future and sort of imagines how it'd be like. And that's where the future Shoko comes in, where she's like the representation of what she would do in the future if she lived. So like, you know, go to high school, which is how she met Sakuta on the beach and whatnot, to help him out, and then, you know, just like be in college and like, you know, raise a cat or whatever and hang out with Sakuta and stuff like that. That's the older Shoko. So all of this keeps going on until mostly they add like, you know, time travel and time elements and stuff into the movie, which was the component and the concept that I'm sort of meh about, because time travel itself can be super complicated when it's in this movie, when it's in anything, and then you have to explain how the time travel works. So yeah, they add time travel and stuff, and it just gets super complicated because of that, but they explain it to an extent, and I'm just like, I don't give a crap. I want to see what the hell happens, because freaking Mai got ran over by a truck. So yeah, they explained that future Shoko is from the future, of course, and she travels back into the timeline where, you know, her younger self is, and she's just trying to spend time with Sakuta until her heart exchange surgery happens, because the future Shoko reveals that she has a scar here, right here in her chest, and essentially it means that she got a heart surgery and that she lives in the future, and that's what the future Shoko represents. You know, she lives in the future. She knows that, and that's why they say on December 24th, that's like when I'll disappear, because that's when the surgery will happen, and she will essentially disappear. The future Shoko will disappear. So that's all her. Except when we find out that, so one day, like, so the whole thing turns around when Sakuta visits younger Shoko in the hospital, and essentially when she gets, something happens with her heart and she's rushed to surgery in ER or whatever, and his scar and his puberty syndrome start acting up, and he gets super injured and stuff, and he wakes up, and finally Shoko reveals the truth that Sakuta donates his heart to save Shoko on December 24th, because he gets ran over by a truck. What the fuck? I'm just like, oh no, why would they freaking do this? They just like all this shit of time travel and like knowing the future and stuff like that. I hate these elements so much, but they're so good in storytelling. So they basically, like, she tells Mai this too, and I'm just like, oh shit, Sakuta is gonna die on the 24th, and he's gonna give his heart to Shoko because he's brain dead and he can't live, and that's how Shoko lives. Except Sakuta dies in that timeline, so I'm just like, oh shit. Well then, if Sakuta doesn't do anything and just stays inside the whole day, then the accident won't happen, he'll live, but then Shoko will die because no one can give her a heart transplant, right? And I'm just like, oh shit, they're making Sakuta choose between Mai and Shoko, and you know, like, do I stay alive and stay with, you know, Mai, who wants me to live, clearly, or do I go through what the future, you know, like what fate is telling me to do, or not fate, but like what the future is predicting me to do, and let it play out by itself, and then save Shoko. And Sakuta, being the character that he is, he's trying to save everyone. He wants to save Shoko, and he wants to, you know, make Mai happy and not make her sad to an extent. So he tries to do the best of everything. And as a result of that, he gets ran over by the truck, except Mai jumps in and saves him. Dude, that shit was so freaking heart-wrenching to see, dude. When Mai jumps in and we see her get hit by the truck. It's not like a lot of blood shown, but like we see her get hit by the truck, and the sound that it made with the truck hitting her fragile body, it made my skin crawl. It made me jump in my seat. I'm just like, no freaking way. And then we just see her lying body there bleeding out, and she dies from the accident. And then of course, in that timeline, freaking her heart goes to Shoko, which saves her. Except in that timeline, you know, like, Mai's death is like spread over the news and stuff, and like it's super depressing, to be honest. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so freaking thing. How would they fix this? Well, if Shoko can travel through time and shit, then she finally comes back to help Sakuta. You know, she's still alive because technically, if Sakuta didn't die in that accident, then Shoko wouldn't exist, right? But instead, Mai gave her heart to Shoko, so that's why she's still around to travel back into the future and tell Sakata how to save Mai and stuff. So essentially, because Shoko's puberty syndrome or something like that involves time travel and stuff, she has him go to sleep, and then he wakes up going back to the past to December 24th where it all happened, except that in this case, no one can see him, because of course there's two Sakatas in the same time right now, so they can't see him and he can't interact with anything or phones or whatever. So then Maki has, or not Maki, is her name Maki? Hold up. Shoko tells him that he has to have someone find him and that can see him, and that was just a huge parody of the very first episode where Sakata finds Mai with the bunny girl outfit, because no one can see him. So then he does what Mai does and puts on this super big bunny mascot suit thing and starts running around trying to have someone find her. And what do you know? It's freaking Koga who finds him. And I thought it was so brilliant how they add like all the side characters from the anime in here to find him. And I was just like, oh my god, like everyone in the theater was just laughing because it's like a huge parody of the whole start of the anime where Mai's wearing the revealing costume, or not revealing, but like, you know, the costume that makes her stand out so much, and trying to have someone notice her. And that's what Sakata did. They found Koga and then had to have Koga talk to the President Sakata and tell him that, you know, you can't do the thing because Mai will die and trying to save you. And of course, him talking to himself, they both know that they want to save both, they still want to save Shoko, right? Except at this point, I'm pretty sure the future Sakata who traveled back is determined that, you know, I can't make Mai sacrifice herself, I can't make her cry and be sad. So then he's super determined to leave Shoko, in a sense. But then in order to do that, he has to save himself, or still in that timeline, he has to prevent him from being run over by a truck. So he decides to take it to himself and take it like a man and save himself in the bunny costume. So technically, in quantum physics or whatever the hell quantum theory science nonsense, I don't know, I'm bad at science, you know, you can't have someone from the future meet yourself because it causes so much like dilemmas and shit, right? Except when he takes the bunny costume, unaware that it's him, right? He's hidden his face and he saves him from the accident, you know, telling Mai, because he runs into Mai in the timeline. He's like, oh, it's the future me running around, and you know, I decide you can't go try to save me because you will die, and like, you know, I will do it myself and I'll save my past self. So that Sakata in that timeline essentially used his life and saved Sakata in that timeline. And then now Sakata and Mai are alive and there's no donor for Shoko. So that means in that timeline now, Shoko essentially dies. It was a sacrifice, and I was like, wow. Oh my god. In the end, nothing in the end happened, or nothing, there was no happy ending for anyone. It's either you have to save Shoko by sacrificing yourself, or you sacrifice yourself, or you sacrifice Shoko and you stay with Mai. That's the whole dilemma here. Which life do you want to save? Do you save your own life, or do you save Shoko's life in the end? And that was a huge like ongoing dilemma in the movie. I'm just like, oh shit, what the hell is he gonna do? He clearly wants to save he wants everyone to be happy. He wants the happy ending where everyone's great, and he wants to save Shoko because he cares that he cares so much for her. And then I'm just like, well shit, I don't think at this point they can resolve this without having someone be sacrificed. But that's not the case. So essentially, the reason why Shoko's puberty syndrome happened in the whole thing was because she was doubting her future, and doubting her future and worried about if she'll make it because of her heart disease and whatnot, right? So Sakata comes up with the idea to travel way back into the future when young Shoko, like in 4th grade Shoko, was having these doubts because they're all like, if you guys watch the movie already, you know it's because of like the whole like this to-do list or like future list of what you want to do in the future that Shoko wrote in the 4th grade, and that's like what caused her dilemma because she knows she has heart disease and she wouldn't live long, and she couldn't fill out this homework assignment of what she wanted to do in the future, what she wanted to be in the future. And essentially he travels all the way. So it sounds like that they wouldn't do this, right? Because if you go change. Oh, what the hell? Are we still recording? Oh no! Please tell me we're still recording. Okay, great. So, if you go all the way super back to the future, right? Or not the future, the past, and you change something super early on, then it would affect everything that's happened so far in the anime, which was the dilemma that they were talking about with Futaba and Mai. If you go way back and change the fact that she won't, if you cure her puberty syndrome at that time, then the future Shoko won't come meet Sakuta on the beach when he's depressed and stuff, and they won't cause him to go to the high school that she was in, and he wouldn't meet Futaba, he wouldn't meet Mai, he wouldn't have anything to do with the anime at all. And I'm just like, oh shit, is he trying to sacrifice everything just to save Shoko? I don't know if like you would do that or not, but he freaking did. He freaking did. Like, although they were super, what do you call it? I kind of saw this happen, but like, you know, it's like, yes, sure, you can do that. You can like sacrifice all the memories that we made in a time, but then we'll just repeat it anyways. And that's kind of like time travel in a sense. Like, even if you change the thing, everything that happens still happens, right? So he does it, and we get this cool flashback of the whole anime and how he helped out everyone, the puberty syndrome, which is great. So yeah, in the end, he goes back, he saves Shoko, and cures her puberty syndrome in that time. Well, not the heart disease. I don't know who the hell. That's a big question though. Who freaking donates their heart? Oh wait, oh shit, wait. Who? Okay, my big question is who donates their heart to save Shoko all the way in that timeline? Wait, is that possible? Oh fuck. Okay, I'll thought that's like future discussion thing. Okay, he goes back in time, cures her puberty syndrome, and essentially she doesn't die. And then throughout the whole timeline of the anime, it just sort of takes a little bit longer to happen than usual because he still has to meet Mai again, he has to meet Futaba again, he has to go through everything in the anime and meet everyone, except it takes a little bit longer. That's the whole like thing that happens with him trying to change the past and the present and the future and whatnot. So yeah, traveling all the way back in the past to save Shoko affects how he meets everyone. The anime, it just kind of extends it a little bit longer. But eventually, in the end, he meets everyone. Everything's all the same. He's still with Mai. They love each other so much. And Mai started in a movie where she was basically Shoko, and like, you know, she was acting as her in the, you know, with someone who has heart disease and she's dying and whatnot. And in the end, they meet Shoko. They have the happy ending, and I'm just like, oh, that's kind of. I'm happy and all, but thinking about it now, in a sense, it kind of just like time travel solves everything, you know, kind of thing. And it's kind of like, believe it or not, but whatever. I still enjoyed it. I like happy endings. Everyone likes happy endings, and you know, everyone was saved in the end. They saved Shoko somehow, which I have a theory on now. I'm thinking about it, and you know, and it took a while, but he still meets mine. He still goes through everything. That was my worry. If he does save Shoko earlier than what's predetermined, then the whole anime doesn't happen. But it still happens. It just takes a little bit, you know, longer. And everyone's alive. Everyone's alive in the anime. I'm just like, okay, that's great. Everyone clap, move the movie theater, yay! So now that brings up my question. So, no, I'll talk about it later. So in terms of review. This concludes everyone. They dealt with Shoko's whole puberty syndrome. Sakuta's puberty syndrome is because of the fact that his heart is existing within Shoko in that timeline, and like they're existing in the same timeline. So of course it can't do that. So he's getting that wound thing because he's supposed to be dead, right? So they solved everyone's puberty syndrome, and I'm just like, well, how the hell are they supposed to do a second season of this thing unless they introduce different characters and their own puberty syndrome, and they're like, you know, it's whatever. They made a reference to that in the movie at the end where it's like the new year and they visit a shrine, and it's like I feel like Sakuta's like I feel like I don't want to have any more weird stuff happen and stuff like that, even though that's how I met you, Mai. But then like it might be a hint to a second season, I don't know. But essentially the only way we're getting a second season of this anime is if we have more people come in with like weird puberty syndrome stuff happening, and like, you know, they try to help him out. The only thing that happens else in this movie is that they go through the end of the year, and of course they're talking about going to college. I think Mai is graduating, and she would go to college, and then Sakura still has another year in high school, and then of course they're talking about going to college together and whatnot, about a future and stuff. But like, I don't know if that'll happen or not. So that's the huge big dilemma in this movie that I have. But I mean, overall, it was a conclusive ending, and it concludes every single person in the anime. And I really enjoyed it. It was great. Now let me go take back my notes, because I just came up with a freaking theory while talking about this. So I came up with this because Sakura decides to go way further into the past to save the younger Shoko and prevent her whole puberty syndrome, and that changes the whole present timeline where he meets her in the beach and she helps him out, and then he meets Mai and everything, blah, blah, yada, yada. Except the fact, one of my questions was, who donates their heart to save Shoko? Because she's clearly alive in the future, in the ending of the anime, of the movie. So my theory would be then that the Sakura that travels in the future, or back in the past, saves her puberty syndrome, donates his heart, he no longer exists. Wait, that makes no sense though. Wait, oh my goodness. It's so complicated with time travel, right? But that's the only thing I'm thinking right now. So at the end of the whole, Sakura doesn't die from the accident, and Shoko dies from her heart disease. He decides to travel back in the past, cure her puberty syndrome, give her heart, and the Sakura of that timeline, just lives on, and will eventually meet Mai and stuff in this new timeline, this new where everyone's alive timeline, and everything's all great. Except I didn't mention this fact that a lot of times in the movie, when they travel through time and do all these different alternate timelines and realities and stuff, their memories from those timelines would still exist in there, because people would mention, they're like, oh, I had a dream, like Nodoka's my sister, she would mention she had a dream where Mai got in an accident, and I'm just like, oh shit, her memories of that timeline came to her in that thing, and Futaba also had that premonition. I was like, wait, so that's actually, I forgot to mention, that is the whole key to how Sakura decides to go save the younger Shoko, because he figures that stuff out, right? That once they all time travel and stuff, that the memories of that other reality actually could transfer with them, and they could have it and those memories, and that's why he thinks about going all the way to the past, to retaining these memories of what happened to Shoko and whatnot to save her. And everything still goes on, because in the end of the movie, when they see Shoko, he doesn't realize who she is at first until all the memories from that all timeline come back to him, and then it's just like, oh shoot, Shoko, you're alive, and stuff like that. So that's another freaking complicated point, because then that means Shoko would have had to have her memories from all those timelines go back to her, because she knows who she is. Oh my gosh, time travel. What is it? Okay, so that's my whole theory from what I'm guessing here. Wow, freaking time travel, man. Okay, let me see my notes. I'll see if anything else here. Futaba was great. Futaba showed a lot more emotion here in this movie when she figured out that Sakura had to die, or Sakura was going to die, and in order to do this whole time travel shit, how he saved Shoko and whatnot, and she was just scared for her friend's life, and I was super impressed by her character, and I was like, oh, if only Mai was here. Anyways, Koga, I love how Koga is the Sakura in the future, or in the past, in the timeline where she finds Sakura in the bunny outfit, and was like, oh, what are you doing? That was cool. Kaede kind of got sidelined because she, after the whole thing with the anime, she gets sidelined because the grandparents want to see them, and she's okay and stuff. And she got a haircut in the movie, and she has short hair now, and it's freaking kawaii, so that's good. Nodoka was Nodoka, except Nodoka really pulls through when it comes to Mai. She gets super emotional with her character, and she's trying to depend on Sakura, it's make sure, she doesn't cry, she's not sad, and you take care of her, right? You protect you protect Mai. And then the whole thing with the freaking car hits Mai, and that shit was so freaking dramatic and so freaking depressing, and that was just her character. So, Yeah, Mai is best girl in this movie. Honestly, when like the moment when she like, you know, after the whole thing, she figures out that Sakura's gonna die, and she's trying to like redo the whole thing in the anime where they travel far away to this unknown city. She's trying to take her far away from the city, and is like, you know, I don't want you to die, so we're gonna keep you away from the city. And you know, in order to sacrifice Shoko, she's gonna kidnap Sakura and is like, let's just not be there. Let's just go to some other city and just be together. And it was so great. Mai is the best girl in this movie. Okay, enough fanboying. What else do I have in my notes? Okay, let's see. Yeah, the different timelines and stuff. This is super complicated. I guess I can talk about it a bit. So everyone's alive. So yeah, like in terms of the second season, everyone in the main cast in the anime in the first season and this movie, they're all good. So I don't know how they would do a second season. Who was Shoko's heart donor in the final timeline? That's a good question. Yeah, overall, there's just like, it was really emotional and stuff. And in the very beginning, there's this huge comedy thing where older Shoko's staying over at Sakura's place, and this whole like relationship comedy thing with Mai and Shoko and the jealousy and whatnot. It's great. But yeah, so that's about it for this movie and all like the huge mind-blowing shit that happens in this movie, because time travel and shit, yeah? So in terms of time travel, this is like the timeline. I could explain this like with a drawing tablet and stuff, but like essentially you have the original timeline where Sakura is going to die on the 24th and his heart goes to Shoko. That's her timeline, right? And like then afterwards she comes back into the time, she goes back in time to tell Sakura this and sort of have him choose whether or not to sacrifice himself or sacrifice Shoko and stuff like that. So of course what happens is that Mai dies, so then the whole timeline thing sort of goes in a different thing, except Sakura's alive and then Shoko's still alive, and she has the whole like thing still, she can still go back in time to fix everything in that alternate timeline. So then Sakura goes back, so this is like the whole thing where Mai dies in this timeline, and it goes Shoko sends Sakura back into the original timeline where he's supposed to die, and essentially saves him using himself, which is super complicated, but whatever. And then in that new timeline, it diverges again to another timeline where Mai lives, Sakura lives, and Shoko dies, right? So then that's where Sakura somehow, I don't know how he finds out to go back in time and shit. Actually, that's a good question, unless that's Shoko's doing, and how Shoko goes back in time. I don't know how that works. Sakura supposedly goes back in time further than the timeline goes off in the screen, right? And then saves her, and then in that time when she saves her, it diverges into a timeline where they're all alive and stuff like that. That doesn't, you know, if I could explain this in a thing, so. Okay, I know I gotta like draw this out, but this is exactly how the hell you explain freaking time and shit. So, time travel in a nutshell, okay? So here we go, bam! So if you look here at this diagram, rush diagram, sorry, this is the middle line is the original timeline where Sakura dies on the 24th, donating his heart to Shoko. And Shoko, in that point, travels back into time to alternate that future. And then there's an event where Mai saves Sakura, so Mai dies in this timeline. And then Sakura in here is sent by Shoko again into time in this point to save Mai. So in the end, Sakura saves himself. Weird time complex, but okay. And in the end, Shoko dies because she doesn't get a heart transplant donor. Mai and Sakura are alive in this timeline. And then in that timeline, Sakura comes up with the idea to go all the way back here to save Shoko early on. And that creates a timeline where they're all alive. Essentially, that's my explanation of it in a nutshell. Hopefully you guys understand this, because time travel overall is super complicated in movies and just everywhere, and like it's just whatever. But I mean, time travel and shit, yeah, right? So anyways, guys, that's about it for the spoiler section. Overall, talking about this has made my emotions calm down a bit, although I can't like get that picture out of my scene when freaking MAI got ran over by the truck, because I was just so shook, and everyone in the theater was so shook. That was like the most shocking twist in the freaking movie. So, anyways, guys, that's it for the spoiler section of The Rascal Does Not Dream of Dreaming Girl. Overall, I really like this film. I like the whole series. I like the whole cast. I like everyone in this series, in this movie. It's so great. And now it feels super completed and concluded. I don't know how they would do a second season of this thing. I would love to see a second season of this, don't get me wrong. You know, I say this about Little Buzz, is my favorite anime all the time, but I would love to see another season where they just, freaking play around and like, be each other and live their daily lives and whatnot. But that wouldn't be like, a thing. So if there ever is a second season or continuation after this and the whole light novels and stuff, then hot damn, because I will be there to react to it. But yeah, actually that poses a good question. Now that Shoko is alive in the whole timeline and everyone's alive, how would they interact with each other? Because everyone doesn't know who Shoko is. Only Sakata and Shoko know currently. Because at the beach, when they met each other, they finally like, oh, I know who you are. All the memories from these alternate timelines just came back into my head. And I was like, oh, I know you. Sort of thing. Yeah, guys, leave your thoughts in the comment section below about how you guys thought about this movie, how everything was for you. Did you guys understand the whole time travel shit? Because I tried to explain it from my personal view of it, because it's complicated and stuff like that. And honestly, there's still a little bit of questions, because it's like, oh, how does Shoko time travel? Well, apparently you just sleep on the bed or something like that. And like, how did Sakata manage to time travel all the way in the past to change it and save Shoko when he doesn't have such puberty syndrome thing? I don't know. Does he just sleep in the same nurse's office? I don't know. How the hell does Sakura do that? Unless it's Shoko herself that goes back into the past. That would actually explain a lot. If it's just Shoko herself that goes all the way back into that 4th grade young year and then, sort of change herself with all the memories that come back to her from the future and, changes herself and she doesn't meet Sakata and stuff, then it could be possible. That's a possible theory. So instead of Sakata traveling from this timeline where Shoko doesn't get in the timeline where Shoko doesn't get her heart donator, then it could be that Shoko herself goes back in time and then just changes everything but affects everyone else. That could be possible. I don't know. I'm sorry I'm trying to like add other things, but it's just so complicated when it comes to time travel and stuff. Anyways, leave your thoughts and feelings in the comment section below about how you thought about this movie. And if you guys would like a season 2, let me know if there is a season 2, or like let me know if there's anything in the movies and stuff. But actually this is all in one video, so I'm sorry. Don't spoil anything in the comments, guys. I keep spitting and stuff. I'm sorry, this is really emotional and stuff. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching Rascal Does Not Dream of Dreaming Girl. And if there is more to the series, then I will be back. I'll be back to review it and talk about it, because this series is great. I love everyone in this anime. My best girl. That's why she stands up here at my desk. Thanks, friend. Gave me that stuff. This is a gift from a friend. So yeah, stay tuned for any more videos I make in the future, because the new Fall Anime 2019 season is coming up. And personally, I still have to make a video for October, so stay tuned for that. I'll see you guys later. Take care, guys. Matane. Don't be a rascal.